Hello everybody, welcome back to Reachin Reverie. My name is Alex and thank you so much for choosing this video to watch today. If you're new to our channel, Josh and I are building a homestead from scratch off of 5 acres of raw land. We've owned this property for 1 month and I think we've already come a long way already. And we are about to deviate from the original plan and start building structures a lot sooner than we had expected originally. We'll get into that a little bit later in this video, but for now, let me just tell you, the RV is here. I'm going to show you guys some clips of us moving the RV across town to the property site. And this RV was originally at an RV park that Josh had it parked at, and we had to drive it maybe 3 to 4 miles, maybe about 3.5 miles, and those tires had not moved this RV in 4 years. The RV's been sitting in one place for 4 years, and we were really nervous that the tires wouldn't make it, but you know, we didn't want to buy new tires just to drive it 3 miles and then never drive this thing again. So we went really slow. We probably went about 10 to 15 miles an hour the whole way. And we got it here without any issues. Got it parked in its spot, and let's take a look at what it looks like. There it is. We thought it was a 36-foot long trailer or RV. It's actually a full 40-foot long RV, and this RV structure is 41 feet, and so it like takes up every bit of this RV shade structure, this RV port, but it's in. I'm gonna go help Josh now. We're moving things out of the way so that we can square off the house. That way we can go ahead and put the septic line in from the septic area where the septic tank and the leach field are up to the RV, to the shop, and to where the house is gonna be. So we need to get an accurate measurement of the house so that we can know where the septic plumbing is gonna need to hook in at. Let me show you guys, yesterday we did square off the shop again. We had to take the string line down and the stakes down from our original measuring off so that we could put the trench for the electric last weekend, and so we did restake it off today or yesterday, and this is where the shop is going to go. It has a stake and another stake, and this is going to be the 16 feet wide, 24 feet back, and then an 8x8 bathroom on just the right side of this electric paneling. I'm gonna go help him move some things out of the way, and then I'm gonna show you guys what changes are in the works now that have developed this week that kind of threw a wrench in our plan, but very exciting, and we're gonna make it happen. So right now, Josh is clearing some vegetation that's gonna be in the way from us squaring off this property, as we do need to get an accurate measurement of where the house is gonna go to make sure that we are getting an accurate placement of the trench for our septic going underneath the house. We are measuring the house to this fence line right here. You can see we have a couple T-posts you could see marking the fence line to the property. And the reason that we're squaring off of the fence is so that everything can be even and in line with one another. So we did measure the RV port off of the fence line so it is parallel to our fence, just to kind of make my OCD happy. While I was over here, I wanted to show you, Josh did a test dig with his auger a few weeks ago, and this is kind of representing the style of gardening we're gonna do next year in our garden area that we're gonna fence in over there. And so this would be sunken gardening. Look at that. He has this area where he augered down, dug down a little bit with the auger, and this is now sunken in. And look at how much is growing. We've got grass, we've got all kinds of weeds. It looks like wild amaranth. And look at how much grass is growing at the top, outside of this sunken area. Besides this Russian thistle is tumbleweed that's growing up right here, and a bunch of tumbleweeds growing up. You don't really see any grass growing, but the grass is growing in this sunken system. And so I'm going to be doing, instead of raised beds, we're going to be doing the opposite, which is going to be a sunken bed system next year. And I think that it's going to do really well with our gardening plans out here. We don't get a whole lot of rain, so this is going to retain a lot more moisture. From the walls in this sunken area, they are getting some shade, so that will give them some relief. Here in the high desert of far western Texas, we live in the Chihuahuan Desert, and we get about an average rainfall of like 9 to 11 inches per year. And so anything that I can do to conserve the amount of water we're having to give these plants will help us out exponentially. So there you have it. That's my little experiment that Josh started for me unintentionally, but I'm looking at it and I'm like, yes, that's what I'm going to do in the garden next year. And I think that seeing how well the weeds are doing in this sunken system, I think it's going to show how well the garden is going to do in the sunken system. They're probably going to be about 4 feet wide, 32 feet long is what we're thinking. And we're going to probably take out dirt for several inches, maybe a foot down, and then mix half of the soil back in with compost and manure. That way we can give the plants nitrogen and nutrients while also using some of our native soils, which will help cut down on cost. This is going to be a lot more cost effective than having to build raised garden beds. It's going to save moisture. Raised garden beds drain really well, and that's the method I've been using since starting out gardening. Is I've always used raised garden beds. So this is going to be a little bit different for me. Probably a lot more weeding in the garden areas, but I'm here for it. I also wanted to show you this bush that I discovered this past week. It's called white brush or bee brush. Some people locally call it bead bush or bead brush. And there's a butterfly right there. But it has these white flowers that smell heavenly. I mean, trying to describe the way this smells. It's super floral, very fragrant, very aromatic. Like just driving through town, just standing outside, you inhale and it is intoxicating how much these put off scent. And I've never even noticed these before, but coming out here on the property, they are everywhere, lining the streets, driving up, it's everywhere. We probably are gonna take out all of the ones near our pasture, as white brush is toxic to goats and horses and cows, but it smells so good and the pollinators are loving it and I'm loving it. I just come over here and take a big inhale. It's funny, I almost feel like it smells kind of like classic women's perfume without the muskiness. It's just all the best parts of old-fashioned women's perfume. It smells so good. So somebody needs to bottle this up, this white brush right here. Figure it out. Somebody make a perfume with white brush scent. It will sell. At least to me, I'll buy all of it. It's amazing. I also need to come and start harvesting mesquite beans. I do plan on getting a flour mill, like a hand cranked flour mill, like that you can clamp onto your countertop. You can actually make flour out of these bean pods once they're dry, and they're very sweet. So it would be a great gluten-free flour to use for things like pancakes, waffles, cakes, biscuits, desserts, anything that you want to have a sweet flavor. If you break these open and smell them, like they have almost like, when they're not completely dried out, they almost have a honey texture on the inside and they smell very sweet. I'm over behind the leach field replanting a cholla that Josh is gonna dig out to build the septic line. Those choyas that I replanted last week was kind of short-sighted, and I planted them right in the path of where our septic line is gonna go. So I need to go take care of that. But while I was over here, I found another white brush, and the bees are all over it. And I also found a little praying mantis nest that's looks like it's almost ready to release the little praying mantises. This is going to be a good spot for baby praying mantis. Lots of things to eat. They are great for gardens. Praying mantises they are predators, and they will eat a lot of bad bugs that are in your garden. So love this property. I'm gonna go save the choyas. Operation Save the Choyas is underway. And time is against me. Look, he's already on it. On his way. He let me know. He's like, these look like they just got planted. Did you want to save them? It's like, yes, please. They're doing good. Desert plants don't need a whole lot. Stick them in the ground and they want to grow. All right. Choya has been saved. I mean, what are the odds that on 5 acres of land I pick the spot that we're gonna dig the very next week to plant that little choya? I was like, oh, water runs through here. This will be a great place for him to reestablish. I should have asked Josh. So this morning I helped Josh, and the two of us, we squared off the house off in the distance and really nailed down stakes to where the house is going to be. That way he knew where the plumbing needed to go to get to the house. We also went ahead and left the stakes in for the shop, but we pulled down the string lines. That way he could come in, and right now he's actually digging a trench to run our septic line. So you can see here where the septic is going to start. Kind of goes out just on the other side of this electric panel. It goes underneath the bathroom in the shop. You can see he marked off where he's going to have the fittings put in. And he's doing a really good job. He's been working hard all day. I'm gonna walk and show you guys kind of what we have planned for the house here. So this stake is gonna be the back corner of the house. We're gonna have another middle of the house right here. And then this is the back corner. And off in the distance we have the stakes over here for the front of the house. So this section right here is gonna be house. And he did kind of mark off right here is where we're gonna have septic going to the front of the house, kind of right along this middle stake, and it's gonna go towards the back where the bathroom is gonna be in the front of the house. So septic plumbing is going in. We're really excited about this. We are very excited to have, I'm gonna sneeze. Does anybody else sneeze when it's sunlight? We are very excited to have our RV here on the property. We have already stayed here a night since we've had the RV parked here, which has just been really wonderful. Of course, Josh is just now digging that septic line, or he's digging the trench for us to lay the septic line down. So even though we have water collection started, we don't actually have the septic hooked up yet. So we don't have septic in the RV. We do have electricity. We even have internet that got installed this week. But overall, we still have quite a few tasks to get done before it can really be a full-time residence. I know I've mentioned in a previous video, the RV is too small for our whole household, which would be Josh, me, my dog, and my cat to live in full-time. So with all of the stuff that we have also, of course, I feel like we do live pretty minimalistic. We don't have a lot of extra things that you don't need, but even still, tiny home living is not for us long term, and in order to be sustainable and to make this something that we can really thrive in until we get our actual home built here on the property, we're planning on building a shop. Of course, it's gonna go right in this section over here that we were talking about earlier in the video. And the shop is gonna temporarily be our living room, kind of our headquarters, where the dog and cat can stay air conditioned and cool with lots of free roaming space in there and not feel so cooped up and jammed into the RV. So the RV being on the property is really exciting. We still have a little bit of a ways to go before we can be here every night and full time. Josh did already take the wheels off of the RV, and he poured little concrete pads for the RV to sit on, and he has some block and leveled it out. Everything looks good there. So the RV is nice and stable. It's not gonna be on tires that are gonna go flat on us to where it's gonna like de-level over time. So that's kind of what it's gonna look like there. We may still make adjustments to that, but the plan also is we are going to be skirting this to keep critters out from under it. I'm gonna show you guys a clip here from this morning and see what kind of prints can you pick out here in these clips I'm showing you guys. We did have deer right up here under the house this past evening. Since yesterday, there's deer prints. And we have a lot of raccoon activity up underneath this house. We need to get this skirted as soon as possible to avoid them destroying or getting into anything that they shouldn't with their cute little thumb hands. So let's get another closer look at another set of paw prints right here, right up under the house. They were definitely curious about the RV structure being on the property. Look at those cute little handprints. So the raccoons are not afraid of our structure, that's for certain. So now I'm gonna come around the back side here, and Josh, he is doing really good. He is from the south and can really handle all day in the heat of the day. We're getting up close to 100 degrees today, and I am kind of in the heat of the day better suited to shade activities. So here in a few minutes I am going to go out onto the property, and while he's doing that, until he needs my help, I'm probably gonna go and start picking some mesquite beans. You can eat them, and I'm planning on making a flour out of these beans. So our original plan was to work slowly and pretty much paycheck to paycheck build our shop. We were planning on moving out here full-time on the property as soon as next April, so April of 2025. So we bought the property June 14th, and we were planning on stair-stepping it out and just slowly, as we could manage to get material, work out here on the weekends and get it done. So this is something that instead of building over the next 8 months, we are really gonna try to build within the next month and a half to 2 months. And we're really gonna try our best to be out of the place that we're living in now, my duplex that I'm renting, my apartment in town. We're planning on moving out at the end of September. There have been some turning of events that have made this choice for us, and Josh really came up with this idea of, why don't we just build the shop now, get moved out as soon as possible, and then from there you know, we'll continue on our plan to build the house whenever we can. And there's plenty of work to do on the property. So if we build the shop and then we're working on the property, you know, clearing brush, setting up our orchard, you know, we do have plans of building a garden, a very large garden for us. We're planning on, you know, building a back pasture for goats. So we have plenty to do, and the plan to build the house is going to be a years-long process anyway. So if we could get out from under all of our renting situations and get out of the situations we're in and just solely have to focus on this one property, that's going to make everything easier for us in the long run. It also is a huge health and safety factor living in my apartment that I'm in now. In the last video we shared that we had a pretty large water leak under the house. I am going to show you guys some clips here as well of some of the damage inside the home, but essentially that water leak has caused the floorboards to warp throughout the house. Also, there's a moldy, musty smell in the house, and we're concerned for our health and for our animals' health who live indoors if we stay there. To us, it's not worth living there for another 7 months just so that we can do things the way we initially planned and risk our health, because I feel like mold, Josh and I both feel like mold health issues are things that can be long, chronic, really hard to manage, and it's not something that we even want to go with there. So we are going to try our best to build the shop in the next 2 months to at least make it livable. Even if it's not completely finished, if we can make it livable, then that's what we're going to do. So this is back at the rental property, and I wanted to show you guys some of the warping to the floors that has been done from moisture under the house. This door used to open and close freely, and literally the floor is warped up to where you can't even open the door without real force. There's a section here in the living room that's kind of like a trampoline. You can bounce. And then this is in the bedroom. This entire bedroom is kind of wavy, the floor. And look at this. Like, the boards are literally coming up. And this has started, it's always kind of been not ideal. Like, there are areas where my landlord, before we even moved in, has nailed the boards down. And my landlord has been really responsive. Anytime we've had an issue, she's come pretty much right away and addressed the issue. But I feel like this type of issue is something that needs to be repaired or replaced without tenants being in this property. We're probably looking at this house needing new subfloor, needing new flooring, like new laminate flooring. I feel like there's issues underneath the house. Our unit used to be a garage before it was remodeled into an apartment. So this used to be like a single family home, and then there's the house on one side, which is a pretty large apartment, and this side is just a 1-bedroom that the garage was turned into an addition, like an apartment. So our side of the duplex, it's a slab underneath, and the other side of the duplex is pier and beam. Well, with our side being a slab, there's drywall that goes all the way to the ground, and that drywall is just sucking up the water like a wick. And so I feel like there's some major repairs that are needed for us to stay here, and I don't want to, it just doesn't feel safe. I mean, just being in the house, it does have a musty, moisture smell to it. And so Josh and I, you know, we don't feel comfortable staying here for extended periods of time. And of course, like Russell, my cat's an indoor cat, like where is he gonna go? How is he gonna get out of this situation? So we have to be responsible and mindful of those in our care as well. Yeah, so we got to keep little Russell in mind as well. And, you know, our health is important. So definitely going to be making some changes here in the next month or so. Yes. Aren't we, Russell? Yes, we are. You don't know it yet. You have no idea. So the leak under the house was fixed pretty much the day after we found out about it. We did have the water turned off. The plumber came over. They swapped out some fittings. It looked like there was a part of the house that used to have old copper lines, and then it turned into PVC or PEX. And then that fitting where it transitioned from copper to PVC, that fitting gave out, and essentially all of our main water line was just flooding underneath the house. Luckily it was slab and it wasn't like a muddy mess for the guys to have to repair, but they did go in and they had to cut a hole in the front of our house and crawl under into it. And so they did leave that hole open so that it could air out, but even Josh taking a flashlight, he can see that, you know, mold is an issue. They did also open up our water heater closet and replaced all of the plumbing going down under the house from the water heater as well. It really does feel like everything from the moment that we found this property to getting the property to the projects we've been doing on the property, everything has really fallen into place rather organically. And it has left us to believe that, you know, that everything just has really been so meant to be, and it really has just established and continually reaffirmed and pushed us to feel like we're doing the right thing here. Everything is just falling into place one step at a time. I mean, moving onto the property sooner rather than later wasn't even in our hand of cards. It wasn't something that we could have even dreamed of. It wasn't something we thought possible. And now that we're put in the situation with the health and safety hazard at the duplex, it just makes sense. And it's like, why didn't we think of this before? This wasn't even an option that we had considered. But I mean, if you think about it from a financial standpoint, the money that I'm paying in rent every month and the utilities at that location, over the next 8 months, it will have been more than the cost it would take to build a shop. So Josh and I were thinking about this, and this is going to be a hard push financially for now, but it will end up being less expensive in the long run and so much more worth it for our health, for our safety, for our budget. It's going to end up coming out much less expensive than if we had done it the original plan. But we're going to spend the money that I will have spent on rent over the next 8 months and put it into the cost of the build. And if you compare our estimated cost of the build and the estimated cost of rent and utilities, it's almost the same price. If that's not meant to be, I don't know what is. The only thing that we are still really trying to figure out in this whole process is, what are we going to do with our chickens? I currently have 6 chickens. 4 of them are from my original flock, so they are about 6 years old now. And then 2 of them are 2 years old and are newer to our flock. And one thing that we're really concerned with is trying to move them out here and keep them protected. With the projects that we have coming up, there's not going to be a whole lot of time to build a new chicken coop, to build fencing for them, and keep them protected. I mean, you guys saw the raccoon prints right up to our front door of the RV. You know, they have no problem being curious and checking out new structures, and they will find the chickens. And I mean, I have surveillance cameras at the house in town, and you see the raccoons, they go up to the wiring windows of the coop and just shake at it, trying to pull it loose, and they haven't been able to yet. But the coop that I have at the duplex is in disrepair. If you go out in the daylight and open up the coop, you can see light shining up through the floorboards. So I feel like with the predator load out here, I don't think they would even last a fortnight. I feel like the chickens will be eaten within the first month, within the first 2 weeks that we have them out here. So I am considering something I never thought I would do, because I love my girls like pets, especially Odette. Don't tell anybody that I have a favorite, but Odette, I mean, she is my favorite chicken. She's the light Brahma. She's the matriarch of our flock, and I mean, all of my chickens, you can go up and hold them and pet them, and they're really friendly. They take food out of your hands. I feel like they know their names. They all have very unique personalities, but they're getting up there in age and they're not producing. And carrying animals that cost $60 a month in chicken feed, and I'm worried that we can even keep them safe without having a setup. I feel like the timing's not quite right. If we were moving out here in April, I think we would have time to set up a place for them and keep them safe. But it is a real consideration if the chickens are going to come out here with us or not, or if we're going to try to rehome them, which is really hard because I'm somebody who, like with a dog or a cat, no way. Like, they're yours for life. Don't get them if you don't know what you're going to do in the next 20 years, or you can't keep them anymore. Make a way to make it happen. I mean, Evie, we spent over 20 grand on our dog last year. So my plan, of course, is to take the chickens with us to, we're thinking potentially putting up the garden fence and building a mobile coop that we can move around the property. We're actually potentially thinking of converting one of our trailers into a chicken tractor where we can let the girls end up moving all around the property with some kind of mobile fence, potentially maybe like a cattle panel fence, maybe an electric fence. And we're thinking about getting that set up. If we can do it before we move out, of course we would want to take our chickens with us, but that's something that I'm mentally preparing myself for, is we might not be able to do it all. And if there's one thing that we need to let go of, it may be the chickens. And when the timing is right in the future, that of course is something that we plan to have on the property, are egg-laying chickens. We plan to have meat rabbits, we plan to have dairy goats. But on this transition that we were planning to, you know, take from June to April of next year, from June of this year to April of next year to complete, we're now making it happen from June to September. We really need to prioritize the health and safety of the people who live indoors in my duplex, which is myself, Josh, my cat Russell, and my dog Evie. We have to get us out of that situation. And I can't build the shop with my rent money if I'm still paying for rent at that place. And I don't want to put the chickens in harm's way by forcing them out here when we're not ready for being able to protect them and then them get eaten. And we aren't prepared to put all of our time and energy into setting up a space for them when we really need to focus on setting up a safe place for us. So that is something that goes against my morals and my convictions, and I feel a lot of pride in wanting to provide a home for them, because I raised them, you know, I've put a lot of energy and time into them. I do love my chickens, and so it really comes down to what's best for me or what's best for them. And at the end of the day, if September comes and it's not best for them to join us, it may be better a fit to have somebody who will want to take on retired chickens to live in their backyard flocks in town. So that's something that we don't have an answer to yet, but I'm looking at all the options. Josh is looking at all the options, and we're trying to come up with something that can make everybody happy. And if the chickens will be happier not being out here with us right when we get here, then that's something that we're gonna have to make some tough decisions on. I wanted to show you guys something. So I've been harvesting beans off of mesquites here on the property, and I was admiring this cat claw, which is one of my favorite plants out here in the Chihuahuan Desert. Don't tell Josh this one's here, because he said he's going to take out all the cat claws on the property. You can see they're quite formidable, and that they have these claw-shaped thorns all over them, and they are a really offensive plant. Like, you have defensive plants and offensive plants. The cat claw will punch you first and ask questions later to see if you're a friend. So you have to have a huge respect and give a wide berth to the cat claw. But it's a great pollinator. It smells amazing, and it is a legume, which means that it does fix nitrogen into the soil. It's in the bean family, and they're really good for the environment. And it is a native plant, and I wanted to show you guys their flowers. They have these little pom-pom shaped flowers, and they're great pollinators. And these flowers are covered in those really large ants that we have on the property. And I just thought this was a good thing to share with you guys, because this is a very disliked plant. Most people who come into contact with cat claws don't like them. I'm talking about cat claws. He's waving at me. I was talking about the cat claws and the ants. There's a cat claw covered in ant. The things you don't like, but they're doing good. They're being awesome. Josh wants to get rid of the ants and the cat claws. But look at this. This is a cat claw plant, very disliked plant, but it's a great pollinator. It provides habitat for native animals and other plants. It gives shade to allow things like the agarita berry bush to grow up in its shade. You have little mesquite saplings that are growing up in its shade. And then these flowers are great pollinators, and they're being pollinated by these ants. So the ants are doing their part too. Look, they climbed all the way up. Look at how high this limb is from the ground, and they've climbed all the way up, and they're even up in the high parts of this tree or shrub pollinating these flowers. So I just thought that was cool. The ants are being resourceful. They're finding their food in the desert, and they're pollinating these flowers, and this plant is providing food to a lot of natives here on our property. So anyway, get back to picking beans. Let me show you a defensive plant. Unless you're a car tire, then it's offensive. This is that mesquite. Look at these thorns. But if you scrape up against a mesquite, it probably won't hurt you. I mean, I say that, I get cut up every time I do the wood chipping, but you can walk by and brush it and maybe won't get caught. Cat claw, you will get caught and you will be ripped to shreds, as if you had picked up 5 cats that were all getting out of a bathtub or something. So this is the mesquite thorns. Everything here in western Texas is very protective. It's a harsh environment, there's not a lot of rain. Everything that does grow wants to get eaten by everything else, and so you've got to protect yourself. Look at this. This is a rain lily that is going to seed. How cool. We have them all over the property too. I'm about to help Josh get these put together down in this trench. I wanted to show you guys. I busted a blood vessel in my thumb today. And it's honestly not too bad. It hurt pretty bad at first, but now it's just fine unless you touch it. Like a normal bruise. I'm gonna pick it up with my feet. I'm gonna prime it. Priming's purple, right? Yeah. Okay. I'm already doing it, but... And then I do the inside of the other one. Okay, I'm getting ready to glue. Ready? Let's go. So right now we are lifting this up a little bit and throwing dirt under it to make sure that we're having an 1/8 of an inch decline towards the septic tank per foot. Is it an 1/8 of an inch per foot drop? That way the poo and other waste material runs downhill. So now he's gonna keep on digging down the way. At this point we have our first clean out. We do plan on having a clean out every 50 feet, right? Every 50 feet? So I forgot to put sunscreen on today. We probably still have another 3 hours of work. Look, that's the color my skin was this morning, right? Try to go find some and apply some, because I know we still have another 3 hours of hot sunshininess before we're done for today. septic is almost done. Comes up right there and it's gonna hook into our fittings for the RV. We have cleanouts every 50 feet. And look, he's already covered the trench. This is gonna be another clean out right, or no, this isn't a clean out. This is an upright. This is gonna be where the toilet empties out. This is within the bathroom of the shop. And then here is where the road is gonna cross, where we have the circle drive. And what we did was we sleeved the 4-inch PVC inside of a 6-inch PVC over this road section so that cars can drive over without risk of crushing the septic line. And then we have another clean out over here, and he looks like he's filling in up by, you can see the septic on the other side of the tractor. And we do have a cutout where PVC is going on the other side of the ATV, which is going to go towards the septic drainage for the house. So I just took a rake and just kind of evened out the edges. We did leave a little mound over the drive. You can see a rock out there. That's going to be the edge of the slab from the shop. So really, the driveway for the circle drive is really good. It's going to come around this corner, and it's going to be between this rock and that tree that you can cross and go around. There you have it. The poop chute is ready to go all the way down to the septic tank. It does have a 1/8 of an inch drop per foot all the way around to our septic tank over by the leach field. Talk about meant to be and perfect timing. We just finished the septic, like just sat down less than 2 minutes ago, and now it's pouring. And it was perfect all day today.